All right, welcome to Get Organized. My name's Kayla Prestel, and this is the first workshop in a series of 12 workshops that I'm putting together that I've organized to kind of build off of each other in the whole year. And so the way I even put these workshops together is actually a great way to start in this topic of organization, because what I really thought about it was I thought about a business, but not even like a structure of a business, but just anything that we're creating as a solopreneur or a small team of people, where typically we're overseeing a lot of moving parts and even doing a lot of those tasks on our own. Maybe some things have been delegated, but most of the time we're doing a lot of the things. And it's hard to organize our time, especially if we're also actively working in our own business. So, for example, I'm a Pilates studio owner and also Pilates instructor in that studio. So I'm not just teaching the clients, but I'm also running the business. I'm organizing scheduling, payments, email marketing, all of, tax prep, bookkeeping, although I did outsource that last year, which was a huge step forward. That was a great thing that I did for myself and for my business. So how do we organize ourselves around managing all these things? And so I thought about that same process and that same idea in the organizing of these 12 topics to talk about. And so I followed the similar model that we're going to get to in terms of figuring out how to structure and how to even order the different courses and workshops that I'm offering over the next 12 months. But the first one, appropriately, is get organized. I love this quote by Benjamin Franklin: for every minute spent organizing, an hour is earned. And I think that's important because sometimes we feel like there's just not enough time to spend towards organizing. But if we have, there's always going to be slow times in our schedule. And so when we can find a time where we have a light week, or a light month, and we dedicate a couple hours a week to just organizing small little tasks, just little chunks. And we'll talk about that. Like, we don't have to organize everything in the first attempt. Start with small little bite-sized stacks of things to organize, and ultimately it will save you more time in the future. So it's time well spent. All right, so we're moving from chaos to order. And the way we do that is by creating a system. We know as yoga and Pilates instructors that the success of our clients' experience in the movement modality is following the principles of that modality systematically. We know there's a specific order. We know there's progressions. We know that you start in one area and then you work your way to another move or modification. And it's all designed in a systematic way to build on itself. So we have to create systems within our business and create systems with how we work and systems with how we organize. Because then once the system is created, we can follow it and repeat it. And that's what allows us to stay organized. So creating the systems that work for you, we'll go over different ways on how to do that. And prioritizing is a big part of that. There's a lot of things we can do. We can't do everything in one day or in 1 month or in 1 year. So prioritizing what is the most important place to start or the most important task to tackle is going to be key. And then finally, tools and tips. So there are tools out there, whether they're on your phone or there's subscriptions paid online, or even delegating and outsourcing some of these tasks can help you get to that point of organizing. They have professional organizers for people's homes. They have similar tools and services for businesses as well. And putting all of those together helps us stay organized. There's the worst thing is to, spend 2 hours cleaning your room, organizing your room, and then the next day it's just all out again. Whereas if we kept practicing the steps it took to organize it in the first place and did those little bits at a time, then it would stay organized longer. And this will be kind of a key theme of me relating the act of organizing parts of our business to organizing a space or a room, because I think it's something that feels tangible when we can see a bunch of objects and we can literally look at those objects, declutter, find places for them. But sometimes it's hard for us to do that in our email inbox or on our computer desktop or in our phone. And it doesn't seem to translate as easily of like, I don't even know where to start because it just feels like it's up here and it's not all out in front of us like it would be in a bedroom or in our studio or in our cleaning closet. So my goal is to help us take the digital cyberspace and try and bring it into more of a materialistic idea of how we look at the emails and the files and the documents so that we can feel more prepared and confident when we go to organize them. Okay, so starting with systems and processes will always surpass motivation. I thought I like this quote because it was from one of a practitioner of jiu-jitsu, which again is a very systematic movement modality. So I felt it was relatable to what we do. So again, in thinking what you do most successfully in your business, which in this group is teaching classes or private sessions. And so think about it like that. Start with the larger picture, right? Zoom out, think, okay, it's an hour-long session or it's an hour-long class. You don't have to think in that first moment all the little details. Instead, we start to like chunk it out. Like, okay, the first 15 minutes, I'm going to start with footwork. The next 15 minutes, we're going to do some more abdominal warm-ups, and you can kind of chunk it out. And then you go back into that first chunk of 15 minutes of the footwork. Okay, we're going to start with toes on. We're going to start with this single leg. Maybe we'll add this. And so then again, if there's more ways to chunk out each of those smaller ones, we break it out. We go big, we get a little smaller, a little smaller, a little smaller. I want you to kind of think about that when it comes to starting the organization process. We're not just going to clean up your entire email inbox today in the first go. We're going to start to slowly kind of tease out those smaller chunks so that we can take each chunk at a time. Make sure it's repeatable. So once we figure out a strategy that works for you, kind of go back and think, okay, well, what were the steps? What were the things that I did? Now let me think about writing those steps out or getting clear and labeling them in my head of like, this is what I do first, then this, because then you can repeat it. And if you can repeat it, then that means you will have that consistent habit over time. All right, so again, that idea of zooming out, there's also a lot of things we can organize. So again, we can organize space. This is at the bottom here, or place. Place is what we tend to organize the easiest. A storage closet, props, supplies, a room, an office, a desk. And then it gets a little bit, object, we can organize within an object, your computer files. It's a little easier. You can kind of see everything in front of you. You can move things around. Then it's harder when we talk about a space, right? Like an email inbox or, like an app, a text message app, things like that. And then time, how are we organizing our year, our month, our day? So all of these things the sort of technique that we're going to go into can be applied to all of these things. It's the same system applied in different ways. So these are just different things that I'm hoping maybe you came into this workshop with like one specific area in your mind of what you might be able to organize, but really I'm hoping that these tools can actually help you expand this practice of staying organized in all of these other areas as well. And start to think about that too, because at the end of this workshop, we want to start to go into putting this in practice. So kind of picking one thing. So I kind of already addressed it, but breaking it down, I have a pan of brownies as a little visual here because it's really hard to just scoop out the whole tray of brownies. We have to kind of cut them into pieces that are manageable to take out one by one. And even then, we don't put the whole thing in our mouth. We eat it bite by bite. It's a little bit more, it's easier to consume, to digest. So then finally, then the next step after we chunk it out is creating containers. Right? We need a place for the chunks to go, and we need to make those containers available. Sometimes breaking up the chunks is what allows us to see, okay, these are how many containers I need, and these are what they need to be labeled as. Sometimes you can create the containers ahead of time as well, as I'll show you when it comes to filing. And then you pick one thing and we start sorting through that one chunk first. Once that feels like it's on its way, then move to the next chunk. And then finally, place what's left in the respective container. So after I skipped 3. So going through the chunk and taking out what you don't need. So that's the deleting process, the removing, the throwing out. Once all of the clutter and the junk is cleared away, then you can take what's left and put it in that respective container. And then you pick the next junk and you repeat it. So I want to pause here and I want us to take us now from this kind of theoretical space, and I want you to visualize a desk. Okay. So the desk is the big, like, zoom out, large space, and it's covered in stacks of paper, in mail. And that's our task, is to clean off and organize our desk. So then I want you to think about those stack of papers. These are your emails, right? These are all the messages. These are your documents, like in terms of like what's sitting on your desk. It's the same thing. It's on your desktop, on your computer. It's all the files, all the documents, even though you might not see them all in front of you like you would if they were stacked in piles on your desk. That's the sort of translation. Then you have a little box with, like, those stacked boxes on top of the desk, kind of, like different forms can go in. It's not quite the filing cabinet, which we'll get to, but it's sort of this organizer. And so, we start with the desk, we pick up a pile, one chunk, and we file them in. Okay. Unread, read, junk, right? And we just sift it through. I haven't opened this one yet. I'm going to put it in the unopened pile. Okay. I've opened this mail. I don't know what to do with it yet, but I've opened it. It's not junk. So I'm going to put it in the opened thing. I need to hold on to it. And then there's like, oh, this is junk mail. Put it in the junk mail pile. So think about that as a literally pile of mail. And that's what you would do. It's that simple. It's going to be the same process in your email inbox, which is your desk in this scenario. Then once you've gotten all of those papers, the desk is cleared, but you still have they're still there. They're still in piles, but now they're in smaller piles and they're kind of organized, which is helpful. But eventually you want to go the step further and you want to file it. You have your filing cabinet. Now in the filing cabinet, there's sections in that filing cabinet, like financials or marketing or instructor employee documents, liability waivers, client information. You have all these sections. Within each section is a file folder. Some of the file folders may even have subfolders within them. Okay, so that's where ultimately you want to get the stack of the unread, the opened, and the junk. The junk can just go out eventually, and we'll talk about ways of getting less junk over time so that you don't have to spend so much time sifting through it, and filing those in the filing cabinet. So I want you to just keep that visual. Hopefully it's helpful, and that will kind of help you understand the steps of organizing an inbox, organizing your computer desktop, or even organizing your drive if you're going to use some sort of like online drive like Google Drive or OneDrive for Microsoft users. That's your filing cabinet. That's where things live that you can easily find them, right? Because again, it's like, okay, great, maybe you've cleared your desk, but if those things are not in your files, if you need to find something very specific, you've got to pull out that whole thing and sift through it. So the benefit of having that filing cabinet is like, oh, great. John Smith needs his documentation from his session and you go immediately to his file and you've got it, and it's easy and you've saved so much time. All right, so moving on. Here's an example of different folders or sections, I guess I would say, different chunks. And I put it in terms of an email if you're organizing your email inbox, because I think that's probably the one that is going to be the most relevant for all of us, is figuring out how to organize our emails. So first, starting with your contacts, making sure your contacts are in your Google. Just because you've gotten an email from someone does not mean that they're in your contacts. And sometimes, that actually organizing your contacts, say you have a group of people you email regularly, putting them together in a group so that you don't have to like individually put all of those people in the send, in the send field of your inbox every time. Just starting to kind of sift through your contacts and make sure those are up to date. And then your inboxes. We have multiple inboxes in Google and Gmail and in other platforms too. I'll probably be talking mostly from a Gmail perspective because that's what I use and I'm most familiar with. And we can manipulate how our email goes to those different inboxes. We can have a priority inbox. We can have a promotions where it's more of like those marketing emails that we get that we don't really have to open, but maybe we still want to get them, keeping tabs up on our competitor studios, or just friends who also have services to offer and we're on their mailing list. We still want to receive those, but we don't need them cluttering our main priority inbox. We can have vendors. We can have a vendor. There's so many different inboxes, and I'll show you how to configure that in Gmail. And then templates. These are fantastic if you're not already using email templates. So whenever you send like you put out a new like price update, say you're having a new client start at the studio and you have an email that you send to them that gives them all the information they need. Instead of rewriting that email every single time, go back and find one that you sent, copy it, and you're going to put it in a draft, and you're going to make sure it's everything's there, and you're going to take out anything that's specific to that client so it's ready for general use. And then you're going to save it as a template. And I'll show you that. I'll walk you through that step. And then every time you have a new client, you simply start that message to the new client and you choose that email draft, and all of that work, the links, the prices, the information just auto populates right into that email body. And then you just personalize it at the beginning and maybe at the end. And it's that simple. And so organizing your templates, making sure they're clear, making sure you have the templates you need. Any outdated ones, get rid of them. If they're confusing labels and you're not sure what they are, edit them to make them really clear to you. And then folders. So folders and labels are kind of the same. I think actually in Gmail, the folders is named categories, like similar to the different inboxes. I'll show you that. And so then the labels are really the kind of, they act like a folder in my opinion. And I'll show you how to label different emails. So let's say you're getting a bunch of email receipts, electronic receipts from different things like auto paid subscriptions. And you need those maybe for your accountant, but you don't need them to open them, and you don't need to put, have them take up space. You can create a filter in Gmail. And as long as you label any email that comes in from that address, you can create a filter that Google will automatically take all the emails that come in from that address and label them and put them in their files. So you can just easily go to that label and all of them come up. So I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, great. And then again, once you start to find a rhythm, make sure you know the steps so it's repeatable. So here's an example of taking the categories that I just talked about and what the action steps would look like. So a new client emails me. First, I'm going to make sure I put them in my contacts, make sure they're in my contacts in Google right away. So that as I do this whole process, then I don't have to go back and sift through it. Then I'm going to make sure that their emails go to the appropriate inbox. And then maybe if there's a template, this is the save the new template is more just as any new email or information that you're sending out, that you're ready to go and you're thinking ahead, like, oh, I'll probably send this email out again. I'm going to create a template from it now, so I don't have to rewrite it later. Thinking about that. And then adding them to the folder. So if this is, the first time you get a spam or an email that's from a new marketing newsletter that you signed up for, it's not spam, but you don't really want to see it all the time, immediately create that filter and tell Google all of the emails like this, send to this inbox or send to this label, and add that new label. So that would be sort of the step-by-step process. And it feels like a lot, but as we get used to it, it'll be hopefully become a little bit more a part of the process. And even if you don't do this with every email, maybe if you're just doing it as a part of your weekly or daily going through your inbox, then it's going to slowly add up, and it won't be, when you go back to organize, it's not going to be so overwhelming. You'll have less of the mess to clean up. And do this every time. Is that the ideal? I forgot I threw all these animations. This is the part of the presentation where I learned all of these animations. So you're going to see more coming through. Okay, prioritizing. So I think I'm guilty of sometimes spending way too much time on something that is like not that important. I just get really fixated on it, and I just am like, I have to just make sure everything is alphabetical, and like, I don't want you to think that I have everything perfect. You'll see my inbox, but every once in a while when I'm in like a cleaning mode, just like in my own apartment, I'll get in like a real like deep cleaning mode, and I have to like clean every like floorboard with like a Q-tip, and it's like, it's not like, that's totally fine. If you have the time for it, great. But if it meant that like I was spending more time doing that, and then I forgot to clean my laundry, and I didn't have clean teaching clothes the next day, and I didn't leave enough time to do my laundry because I spent so much time cleaning the dust on the baseboards. That's a priority issue where I'm like, really, the cleaning of my clothes for work was a higher priority than cleaning the dust on the baseboards. So I put out these like common tasks that we do in our business. And sometimes again, it's overwhelming because we think of all the things we still have to do. There's never an end to those things. So prioritizing can be your friend. So I would say in this instance, creating an invoice would probably be your priority, getting the money in, right? As soon as you can, taking out as much delay as possible when it comes to receiving payments. Updating the class schedule on the website. That's pretty high up too, because that's again how your clients are signing up, how your students are taking class. You want to make sure that that's ready to go, before other things. And then really these last two can be interchangeable, sending in the monthly newsletter and recording Instagram video. This is like how you're communicating to your audience. I think a monthly newsletter, the priority of that, if there's a lot of information that's shared, I think that's slightly above recording video content, because the recording video content is not that you're posting right then and there. It's more like you're recording for future posts, future use. So that's kind of stuff when you have a nice free hour, nothing pressing. It's a great way to use that time. So finally, towards the end of this, and then I'm going to show you specifically all the Gmail little steps. Here's some tools that I found are really great for organizing. These are particularly good for if you have you're working with someone else, and especially in our new remote space, communicating virtually is our new challenge. So Asana.com, they also have an app, is great because it's like a digital list maker. And what I like about it is you can create multiple lists and you can assign different people to those lists, or maybe you have a task or a project. And you want to make sure that those things are tackled. You put them out and people can actually check them off and they go away. It's very satisfying if you're someone who likes to make lists and then cross things off the list. What I like about this is, let's say you have someone who's coming in 3 to 4 times cleaning. And let's say you have different things you want them to do on different days. You can create a little cleaning schedule, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and assign it to them. And then they have it, they can do it. That's one example. It's not that you have to really do that, but it's an example of how to use it with like another team member or employee. Or say you share a client with someone and you want to, this is a client log where you put what you worked on, and then you share it with them and what you want to make sure that they work on in the next session with that client. Or even just managerial administrative tasks, creating that Instagram content, making sure if you're hiring someone else to send out your newsletters, what you want in each newsletter that month or that week. So it's a cool thing to check out. I think they have a free version, and then depending on how many shared users, you have to pay a little bit more. Keepersecurity.com. Now, I haven't used this myself yet. I do want to test it out, but it's supposedly the most secure online password manager. Where you can have all of your passwords and usernames in one place. So again, I want to try this out myself to see how it's really used, but this was the highest ranked one. And I think it's only $25 a year for a subscription. So it doesn't seem like a huge investment. Because that's another part of organizing. It's like, where are all our passwords? I'll show you like a little bit of a hack for that. That's just not as secure, but it's helpful. It's better than nothing. And then Google, I do really, this is Google Slides, what I'm using right now. I just feel like their products are very user friendly. If you know how to use Gmail, chances are you're going to know how to navigate Google Photos, Google Drive. It kind of uses the same system, which is helpful. So Google Photos is awesome because it's unlimited space photo storage. So I know with like what we do, we take a lot of photos and videos oftentimes for promoting on social media, and it's like you don't want to get rid of those photos, but maybe you're trying to clear space on your computer or on your phone. Having a you can do the app or have it online. It's the cloud storage and moving your photos over there. There's even a function on iPhones where you can have them automatically sync to Google Photos, so even when you delete the photos off of your phone, they're still going to be saved in Google Photos on the cloud. So you can go in through that, and it's a great way to start organizing photos if you want to use that as well. And then Google Drive, that's our filing cabinet. That's the new filing cabinet that we can bring with us everywhere and that we have access to, that we can easily grab a file, send it in an email. So we'll be focusing mostly on Google Drive and Google Mail today. And then I love a good old fashioned notebook, but I also love Notes app. The Notes app, which is what I love, is we use so many links now, and you can save links. You can have different categories. When I was working with, still work with, do private consultations, I have a Notes app for each client. And so I update that as I go through the session. I add what we worked on, what our homework is. And I like it because I can access it from my computer. I can access it from my phone. So if I'm on my computer, I can still be looking at the Notes app on my phone. And you can create as many of these as you want. And it's very easy to search in the search bar. I'll show you again what the notes look like. And it's just, I think it's a very easy way. It's like having a tiny little notebook in your pocket. I used to be a big planner person, and I had like a big planner and you write notes and it's impractical now to carry it around everywhere. And there's so many things are changing that by the time you cross things off and erase things, it's like impossible to read. So I like the Notes app because it's digital, but it kind of helps me see all of the different notes I have too. And I don't have to, pan through all the papers and feel, where was that one? So a lot of really great benefits, even though I think sometimes it feels overwhelming that it's harder to be organized in this digital space. There are improvements to the tools that we have available. Finally, consistency. So these are just some habits about being consistent, or quotes about consistent habits. And I just thought they were fun. So you can look at that. I'll just read them. Why not? We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. Small disciplines repeated with consistency every day lead to great achievements gained slowly over time. When you look at people who are successful, you will find that they aren't the people who are motivated, but have consistency in their motivation. So I really liked those quotes because I feel like sometimes we think that we have to be a certain type of person to succeed at things. And really, it's just more about adopting a new habit and being consistent with it, just like Pilates, just like yoga. Starting small, even if you just did the breath work in the 100 every day, but you were consistent, you're going to have so much more benefit than someone who does the whole advanced series once a month. I really do believe that. So even if it's small little bits, consistency over time, it's going to gain great achievements. All right, I think that is the end of the slideshow. I'm still going to record, and then I'm going to give you a little peek into my inbox and Google Drive and all of those things, and hopefully show this in a clear and consistent way. And again, as questions come up, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll have a little bit of a Q&A towards the last 30 to 45 minutes. Okay, great. So this was my Google Slides. Again, there's so many fun ways I'll show you in a second where I found that. So this little, can you see my mouse? Give me a thumbs up if you can see my mouse. Okay, great. So this little grid is your friend when it comes to all the tools you have available through Google. So right now I'm in my Drive. I also have my mail open in a new tab. And I'll show you, though, the grid is on all of these. So there's lots of things. This is the Google My Business profile where you can find that. I definitely recommend, if you have a brick and mortar, to get your Google Business profile set up. It directly relates to your Google search. So that's important. Your mail's here, your Drive is here. The docs and the sheets that are filed in your Drive are here as well. You can just open one right away, to start a new document. Slides. So that little presentation I put together was on slides. It was very easy to use. The Google Calendar, another great tool. That's like its own, that can be its own, it's kind of looped into organization as well. Having calendars in different colors and making sure that that's clear. Google Forms, which I think we've all used at this point. It's a great way to get surveys, to get feedback forms, to get intake forms. It's digital. I did my COVID information for the vaccine proof through a Google form, and they were able to upload their vaccine doc through the form. So it's all there. Your contacts, which we'll talk about through, I don't know what currents and sites are. So that's one thing to look at. And then of course you have the video chat and the regular chat as well. And then these are just a bunch of add-ons, ads. There's the Google Photos that I was talking about. It's right there. And you can have it synced to your phone so that things automatically go in there. and a bunch of other things. And then DocHub, which I think is only for Google Suite if you're doing the professional domain. But I love about DocHub, it's you know, if you're familiar with things like DocuSign or Form Filler, DocHub allows you to electronically sign and edit PDF files and applications, which I think as a business is important. It doesn't necessarily change if you send something out to the clients, they have to have their own kind of version of this to do that. But I just like it that it's built in, because whenever I open a document, it gives me the option to, you know, edit the form electronically, which is very convenient. Okay, great. So those are the tools that kind of apply to us. So let's start by going into the Gmail inbox. And I'm not like, I haven't even done as deep of a dive into this as is possible, but I think that's probably for the best, because I think we're all using this in a pretty simple way and we don't need to go crazy when organizing it. So I have it set to default right now. So this is probably what most of your inboxes look like. You're gonna have, these are the inboxes, all right? So when we talk about inbox, you have your primary inbox, your social, I know it's empty, and your promotion. So this is if I'm on someone else's like MailChimp. So MailChimp is going to automatically usually go into your promotions tab. Now, as you start to open certain ones more, then it's going to potentially, Google might send it more to your primary because they see, oh, she reads that a lot. So that's something to think about when you're sending emails from MailChimp. If their configuration. Now I can show you in a second how you can redirect those things when they come to you as well. And then updates, these are like automatic email, like appointment reminders, you know, those kind of things. They're not necessarily, they're like things that I have accounts with, technically, like Acuity. You see my Acuity and Zoom, you get my MailChimp on the back end, those kind of things. They're more than just subscriptions to someone else's mailing list. These are actually like account notifications from software that I have, that I'm paying for. So, you know, those are kind of the typical built-in inboxes. Now, they don't have to stay like this. I like to, because again, like these fill up like super fast. You can see right now I have only a few unread, and I'll show you why, because I switched to a different way of organizing my general you know, desktop here. So I go to the settings gear, little gear bar, and it's going to pull down the quick settings, and there's ways to adjust what you see. So right now I have it in default. You can also adjust like how it appears. You can adjust it to, you can play around, nothing's permanent, to comfortable. So it kind of gives it a little bit more, let's see if you can see that difference. Comfortable, compact. So it just kind of shrinks it. I guess if I go to compact, I can see more in a smaller way. I guess, I don't know, comfortable and default must be around about the same thing. And default might actually show if there's let me see if there's, I can pull something up with a attachment. No, nothing's coming up. Okay. You can change the theme around, that's fine. But this is the most important thing. So going to inbox type. So right now I just have it on default. Now there's different ways you can see these icons. This icon, when it's like you can see it's flagged, that means it's important. So if I decide that, and you know, Google will kind of automatically do it, or I can put this in a filter, and I'll show you all the filters in a second. But if I decide that I want to see the important emails first thing in the morning, and you know, and I don't want to, now it just rearranged everything. So now all the ones that are flagged are showing up, and they're going to be ordered by when they were sent, by date, chronologically. Okay, so that's one way to organize. Or what I choose to do is unread first. Any email that's unread, whether it's spam or, you know, an account update, is first. And this way, what I like, because I'm the type of person that goes through every now and then, like every couple hours sometimes, and I just open and delete like right away, like the unread, and I just get through the unread emails, just like a stack of mail. I'm like constantly like, oh no, I got to put these somewhere. I don't file them right away, but I'm like, I got to start clearing this stack. So I do unread first, so that I can go, okay, yeah, I don't need this. I don't need to have this. And I just start to go down. Yeah, I mean, none of these are like important. They're just like random ones. Sorry, I just saw your name, Monica. I was like, not important. Yeah, this is like a thing. So I'm going to hold off on this because I think, I don't know how this person got my email. I don't want them to keep emailing me. So I'm going to hold off on that. This stuff, I don't mind still getting it. I just don't need to open it and read it right now. That's something else. Yeah, I don't need that, blah, blah, blah. So, you kind of see. So I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of those right away. And then look at that. I only have like 4 unread emails now. Now this Christian guy, I'm like, I don't know what this is. Bellway super fiber, I'm sure we get these all the time. All of these like nutritional things wanting to partner. So right away, I'm going to, let me close the settings really quick. And I'm going to see, he doesn't have an unsubscribe. So he doesn't have an unsubscribe. So he's just cold emailing me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, and I'm going to filter messages like these. So I went to those 3 little dots, filter messages like these. And you can see it's going to filter from this specific email address. And I don't really have to put anything else here. Like I don't need this person to keep emailing me. And so now I'm going to, if he had more emails, so let's say he's been emailing me for weeks now, and there's like 10 of them. You can search and it'll come up with all of them. You can select them all and then, deal with them. But first I'm just going to do the filter. 1 second. I'll do that again. I'll show you that again in the other one. So I'm going to create a filter. And it's going to give me options. Like, what do I want to do? What do I want Google to do when this guy emails me? Do I want it to archive it, just skip the inbox altogether? But if it's archived, that means if I search for it, they will still come up. I just won't see them. I can mark it as read, so it doesn't go to my top, since I have organized my inbox to show me the unread first. And let's say I don't need to read these emails, I can just mark it as unread right away, and it goes down to the lower stack. I could star it if it's important. And again, these are ways we can organize our inboxes. So again, if you want to see the starred emails first and you want to see this guy right away, you would star it. You can apply the label. So you can create a label. I'm not showing you my personal email. I have a lot more labels and stuff in my personal Gmail. Right now, I just have this one, but I could create a new label, and I'll show you one that I maybe want to create a label for later. Could automatically forward it to my other address, maybe. I could have them delete it right away. I could have a template sent back in response, and I'll show you the templates. So there's all these different ways. Mark it as important, never mark it as important, categorize it. I'm going to delete it. So Google is already deleting emails before I even see them. So I'm going to create a filter. And if I had multiple emails from him, it'll also show you the option to apply this filter to all of the other emails that were sent by that person. So now let's see. I'm also not going to mark it as that. Let's see what happens. Great. It's here still. Let's see. It should be deleted. Let me see what the filter is. Should be on there. Delete it. Create filter. Filter was created. Great. Let's see if I can I don't think it'll apply in retro. I think I still have to delete this one, but it should then delete them coming in. Now, let's say, let me find a good example. So my Squarespace form submission, you can see I have a star, and I filtered this because this used to go into my promotions tabs and I would miss these. And these were important messages sent directly through my website from people who were wanting to reach out to the business. So I have a filter on this. I think I already created it, but essentially I did the star option. And I also, let's see what the option is. Categorize. So you can have, this is the category. So let's say it keeps going to your updates or promotions tab and you want it to be in your primary inbox. You can make sure that it's always sent to your primary by selecting primary. And then here's that option, also apply filter to 7 matching conversations. And that'll automatically bring it into your primary. So all of those were the similar ones, those form submissions. And now it should all appear if I were doing the default in my primary inbox. So those are just different ways, again, to set up how you want to make sure you're seeing. It's the prioritizing part of it. And then it also helps you. Therese asked about uncluttering. So I'll take you, at the end, when we get more into the Q&A, I'll stop recording and I'll take you into my personal Gmail and I'll show you. I get a lot more junk to that one. And I'll show you that one. So that's kind of we'll get deeper into the Q&A in a moment, but that's your general how to clean up. Your labels are over here. So I only have the one remote label here, remote lock. There's nothing in there right now. Let's talk about the templates, the drafts. So let's, for example, like I have just a very basic Zoom meeting invitation email, just in the, because, you know, we're always sending those, and I have it always the same. So let's pretend I'm going to delete this. So let's pretend I want to create a template, like a default, like, oh, as soon as someone needs a Zoom meeting invite, I don't have to go to my Zoom, copy the invitation, put it in an email. So I want to create a template around it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit compose. And I'm not going to put anyone in the to. I'm just going to put that, whatever the content of the email is, into the main, general notes section, message section. And then I'm going to label it something clear, Zoom meeting invite. Now it's still in draft form. So I want to send this as a template that I can find it later. So I'm going to go, again, these three dots, more options, templates, and I'm going to just hover over it and all of these things will pop up. Now my existing templates are, I guess I still have Zoom meeting up there. Let's say I'm updating this one. So if I wanted to create a new template, save draft as template. And I can either go to an existing one and override it. So let's say my old Zoom meeting, I want to update it. I would just click on Zoom meeting and it'll override it and it'll replace the old template with this new content, or I can save it as a new template and put, it'll automatically take the subject line as the title, but you can also rename it something else if you want to. And then I'm going to hit save. So then there it is. I'm not going to delete this because this is the draft, and just close it, and it'll always be saved in your drafts. So you'll have, these are, some of these are just an actual draft, but some of these are templates. So you have to be careful if you're deleting drafts not to delete a template. Now, if I want to use it, I'm going to compose, say someone, oh, I can't find the Zoom link. Can you send me the Zoom link? I'll find their email. And I don't even have to worry about the subject. I'm just going to go to the three dots. I'm going to go to templates and I'm going to insert template, insert Zoom meeting invite. And the subject will populate, and so will all of the content. And then I can send it right away. Just like that. So you can do that with any email you're sending out, whether it's your studio policies, your prices, something that you feel like you're constantly sending out information about, and you don't want to keep rewriting it every time. So it's a great thing to do. Or say you host an event once a year and you have a bunch of emails that you send out, you can save those as templates and you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, and just change some of the specific details and then use those templates. So that's templates. Good. So now let's go over to Google Drive really quick, and then we'll look at the desktop, and then we'll do a Q&A. And I'll show you a little bit more about the clearing of the junk email as well. All right. So I went to the Drive. I had it open already, but you can also, again, go to those dots, your grid, and select Drive. And now I'm using this because my business drive is pretty organized. I spent some time doing this the other day and it was really helpful. So in my main folders here, I have, a lot of these could be under this folder. It's all related to Feel Good Pilates, more or less. But some I want to access a little bit faster. So I have like Google Forms, its own folder. This is my landlord of the building. This is a bunch of new email leads that I get, those kind of things. Printable forms. So this is talking about organization. Like if there's forms that you're constantly printing, create a different folder and like put them all in there. So these are forms that I've printed regularly, a cleaning log, the sign-in sheet for when people had to sign in for COVID, and I was constantly having to print those. And I just had all of those forms that I print in its own folder. So that's an example of a container you can create. So now, though, there's so many things under the business that I need to have access to. So I have just a general Feel Good Pilates folder. And within that folder, I have budgets, clients, independent contractors, invoices, special promotions that I've offered, admin, general, let's look what's in that general admin. So this is kind of this is like my junk drawer folder where I'm like, I don't really know where all of these things belong. But like I rented out keys to people and I have a spreadsheet for who has the keys, who still has keys and who doesn't. I have some copy here. So I have a lot of, there's going to be a whole other training and workshop on generating copy. And once you've created copy, save it, file it away, because you can pull from that. And you don't want to, again, rewrite the copy every time you're doing something. I had an outline for the virtual team meeting, just stuff I kind of want to hold on to. When I was thinking about hiring, I created a job description. This is kind of just general admin. I don't have enough of it to each have its own folder. So that's an example of that. And I'll show you how to create these folders. I'll show you one more folder. Let's look at marketing. What's in here? Marketing documents. Okay, that's kind of a miscellaneous folder. I don't really need that. I guess I could have I have one, maybe that wasn't the best folder. I have one thing in there. So, all right, let's go look at what else is in here. Let's look at, yeah, good. So I have a bunch of different financials, tax forms for each year, the PPP loan, monthly acuity reports, and then these files have yet to be filed. So you can see in this folder, I have folders, but then I also have just files that are loose. So, owner pay could probably go into monthly acuity reports. Sales tracking also is going to probably be, maybe I can have its own folder. So I'm going to create own folder for sales tracking. So I right clicked, you can also double click, or you can go to new folder, and it's automatically going to put the folder wherever you are. So I'm going to do sales tracking. So I've created this folder, and then I'm simply just going to drag it into that folder, file it away. More acuity reports, those go there. COVID impact, let's put that in the PPP loan. Contractor pay, that I'll just leave as it is right now. Loan account payments, I'm going to leave that there too. Those are separate loans. So I just kind of cleaned it up already. It's already feeling a little better. Now, let's say there's some things on my desktop that I want to add to one of these folders, some tax forms or something like that. I'm going to go to new, and I'm going to do file upload, and it's going to come up to, whatever I need to add to that folder there. So that's one way of doing it. If you have a lot of things on your desktop that you need to add to your Google Drive for whatever reason, I would recommend doing the same process of starting a new folder first, titling it, whatever it is, admin docs. And then let's say you have a ton of documents, put all those documents in the folder first on your desktop. Then when you're ready to upload it, wrong one, you're going to go to your drive and find wherever you want that folder to live. If it wants to be in your main window, you can, or if it wants to be nested under an existing folder. And I'm going to do the same thing. Instead of doing new file upload, I'm going to do a folder upload, and you'll be able to upload everything in that folder at once. So you don't have to do it one at a time. So those are kind of the basics of Drive. It's a filing cabinet. You have your main drawer here, and you have your main sections, and then each section has folders within itself. And then each folder might even have subfolders. So this is helpful when you're organizing, because let's say, a new instructor, let's find the most recent instructor that started with me. Oh, it's Juliana. There we go. So let's say I'm specifically trying to look, this is also helpful. It's going to be helpful when we clear out junk. So I'm trying to look for a specific email from her where she sent me a copy of her insurance. So in my search things, I want to do from Juliana, and I want to click has attachment, because she sent it as an attachment. And now I'm going to search. Okay, they both have attachments. So I'm going to open it up and find where that attachment is. There it is. Now I could just download it. It looks like I have to download it oh, actually, I might be able to, I can automatically organize it in my drive. So instead of having to search back later on 4 months down the road to find where that certificate of insurance is, as soon as I can, I'm going to open the email and I'm either going to download it and then re-upload it to the drive if it doesn't let me automatically, but it should allow you to just organize in Drive. You click on that button and it'll open it up. And I already have it organized, so it's going to come up, but I basically, you find, I'm going to move it and just show you that process. It'll come up to my drive. You click the arrow to go deeper. Be like, okay, I don't want any. So now it's going to be nested under there again, the arrow, and it's going to be under ICs. So I'm going to do the arrow. And then if she doesn't already have an existing folder, I'm going to create a new folder with her name on it and then move it there. She does have a folder, so I just have to find it. And then I'll be able to move here. It's already there, so it's not letting me move it there. But that would be essentially how you would follow that. And so again, this is the system, right? You organize and prioritize which emails are coming through. Then you sift through, you get the junk out there. Then the important ones you open. If there's a document that you need to access later on, already have that system in place. File it right away instead of just seeing it. Even if it's just downloading it to your desktop, because that's the first step that makes sense to you, you can do that because honestly, eventually you're going to open up your computer and you're going to have all these files on your desktop, but at least you can see them just like your stack of mail. And you can go one at a time. You can create that folder, put them in folders. And then when it's all nice and packed in a nice clean folder, upload that to your drive if that's a little easier or makes more sense with your workflow. So there's ways around it that I think just finding what works best for you. But just knowing that there are systems, like it just is like a breath of fresh air. I think I really started doing this consistently when I opened the business and I had to go through my first tax appointment and they needed all of these files. And it's like, I really need to have these things easily accessible. I also have a folder where I have my recorded Pilates classes for promotional stuff, and I have them categorized by what class it was. Those are things that we're constantly wanting to find. What's another one? Posters and flyers. So images that I use on social media a lot. I just would start, as I created them and used them, I would automatically just put them in this folder so that I could find them really easily when I needed them later down the road. So those kind of things. All right.